Hello, Scorpio, and welcome to my channel, Tarot by Gabrielle. This is going to be a general reading for Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus placements, looking at your connection between you and the person that you are dealing with and needing to learn the most from right now. We'll be looking at all three sides of the connection, so we'll be pulling energy for your side, their side, and then the energy in between the connection, the concept being that there are three sides to every story. So we'll be looking at your version of the truth, their version of the truth, and this higher level unbiased truth in the middle. This middle section will be looking at what is the deeper purpose of the connection and the best way for you to move forward in order to align further with your higher self. Friendly reminder that these are general readings and they are not here to resonate fully for everyone, and they won't resonate for everyone. So do please remember to take what does resonate and helps your personal situation and leave what does not. On that note, the whole reading can be reversed. If that is the case for you, that's totally fine and totally normal. Again, the point is to take what helps and leave what doesn't. Last thing, any information on the extended reading or on booking a personal reading or coaching session with me is in the description box below. All right, Scorpio. Let's dive on in and see what you're dealing with. This is for Scorpio's energy toward the person they are dealing with. This is for Scorpio's side of the connection. It's the person they are dealing with and needing to learn the most from right now. Divine timing and triggered and mirroring. Oh my goodness. Okay. So it's obvious that there is divine timing at work in your love life and maybe even in this connection here. I feel like this connection has been doing a lot of triggering. I feel like it has triggered you in a lot of ways, or it does tend to do that. And I feel like that it probably is because of the mirroring. You know, when we meet somebody who mirrors ourselves back to us, it brings up old wounding. You know, it brings up feelings of unlovableness, feelings of, fear of abandonment, feelings of undeservingness. And sometimes we even attract people that are put into our life for the purpose of triggering those things so that we can address them and heal them. Not, because we deserve to hurt or we deserve the heartbreak that sometimes those connections can bring on, but more so because sometimes we don't realize what needs to be addressed and healed until we do meet it in another person. So I feel like there's probably some pretty... this is probably a pretty intense connection, just from what I can see so far right out of the gate. Now let's see what this person's energy is towards you, Scorpio. This person's energy towards Scorpio. Maybe. Trapped, unfinished business, and romance here. I feel like this person feels as if there is unfinished business in this connection. I feel like this connection could be in separation. It doesn't have to be, but I do feel like it could be. There's definitely a distance between these two energies. Doesn't necessarily need to be physical distance. It can be emotional distance. Remember, take it as it resonates. But I do feel like it's interesting because this person feels as if there's unfinished business in this connection, yet feels trapped in where they're at, which I feel like is not in the connection. So I feel like that probably makes things really confusing for you because you know that this person, desires more from this, but yet I don't feel like they're necessarily doing anything about it, which again is going to leave you feeling confused and not really knowing how to handle things. So let's see what's in between the connection, because I do feel like this person has feelings for you. It's obvious that you have feelings for them, but I feel like you guys trigger each other a lot. So it's probably 0 to 100 in some ways, like bringing out each other's insecurities and fears and all of the things. Truth of the connection. Okay, manipulation with know your worth. I obviously don't like seeing that manipulation card. I feel like it might get hard for you to know your worth in this connection. And not in the sense that it's difficult for you to know your worth in general, but I feel like this person, for some reason, has a really, and I feel like it's because of the nature of the connection is the reason, but I feel like they have a really deep impact on you, a really big effect on you. And I feel like this manipulation card can be, an indication that there's not a whole lot of honesty or clarity here. Maybe this person is kind of like trying to keep you close because they don't want to lose you, but yet they're stuck in something else, or they don't, want to change in order to settle down or to grow or whatever the case might be. And that's where it can get really hard to know your worth, especially if you know that there's a desire there. Because you're like, well, I know this person loves me and I know they care about me and I know that they technically want to be with me, but then their actions or their behavior or the reality of the situation is, what it is. And it's like, so I don't really know what to believe. I know that they love me, but they don't show up for that. Or I know that they care about me, but they don't do anything to show me that. So it's like, it makes it confusing. You're like, I don't really know how to take this, or how to handle this, which I feel like I certainly cannot blame you for, because I do feel like this person is a little bit confusing, especially because they feel as if there's unfinished business here. So let's get a little bit deeper. Let's start, Scorpio, or let's go back here to your side. You have this mirroring energy. I feel like what I kind of see, like what I visualize, is like this magnetic pull toward the other person. But then once you get close, it's almost like there's something that like then pulls you guys apart. It's almost as if it's like there's this draw, but then also this like something that's kind of pushing you guys away from each other. And that has got to be just difficult to deal with in general. Scorpio's side of the connection. Let's clarify this mirroring card. Because it's like, I see, how magnets, it's like either they're drawn to each other, right? Or, they're pushed apart. And it's almost like this connection has both. Like, I don't even know how that's possible. It's like you're drawn to each other, but then like once you get too close, it's like you can never really connect because something's like pushing you apart. So I don't know, it's weird. Okay, Scorpio's energy toward the person they are dealing with. The Emperor in reverse. What else do we need to know here? The Ten of Pentacles and the Ten of Cups. So okay. Oh goodness, okay. You see this person as like, this is your person, or at least you did at some point. I feel like there is a lot of good in this connection that draws you in. But then again, with this Emperor in reverse, there is this energy of like control or force almost. It's almost as if your actions in this connection have been about what you can do to make the connection work. And I feel like so much of your priority became doing what you can to make the connection work, that at some point during this process, I feel like you lost a little bit of sight of what it is you ultimately deserve out of connections and out of love. I see this a lot when people either believe or are dealing with someone that they have labeled as a twin flame. And what that really entails is you put a label on this person and you say, this person is my person. And it has to work with this person. If it doesn't work with this person, like any other love is never going to be as good as this, or it's never going to last because it would only last with this person, right? That's kind of this concept of the twin flame, your divine partnership, all that. And although I do think that these kinds of connections are really powerful and they can be very life-changing, I have experienced one in my own life as well. sometimes we lose sight of what the purpose is, when a lot of times we become roped in to the connection itself, when in reality it's about what it's trying to teach us individually, right? And I feel like there has been a little bit of losing yourself in this connection. And like I said, losing sight of what it is that you really deserve. Because what you deserve is somebody who doesn't just love you, or doesn't just want you, or doesn't just desire you. That is absolute bare minimum. Somebody loving you, desiring you, wanting you, bare minimum. Somebody who shows up for that is what you deserve. Someone who shows up in vulnerability, who shows up in communication, who is there for you to work on the connection. And I feel like there is an absence in this connection of what it is that you truly deserve. But it's hard because, again, there's like this intuitive understanding and knowing of like, well, but this person, desires me, or they want this, or whatever the case might be. And that probably is true. I mean, I can see it from their energy, right? But does that matter if they're not showing up for this in the way that you need, right? So I encourage you to just be a little bit cautious in your approach of this connection, because I think, again, sometimes we can get blinded by the pull of certain connections that we miss out on what it's really trying to teach us, which a lot of times is how to know our worth, especially when it's hard. And I think that there's so much that you desire that this connection holds, that keeps, you kind of drawn to it, but then there's so much that it lacks that then pulls you away from it. But let's get more. What is this person's energy here towards Scorpio? Unfinished business. I actually used to be a reader for twin flame connections and the twin flame journey when I was on one myself. And I am very thankful to this day that Spirit, the universe, kind of pulled me away from that concept and brought me more into the concept of like learning to love myself separate from that connection, because ultimately what that led me to was my husband and the life that I have now, which is far better than the life that I thought that I wanted and was really roped into having when I labeled somebody as my twin flame. Now that connection, it changed my life. I was a completely different person before I met that person. It put me on a spiritual path. It pushed me into healing. I'm literally a completely different person because of it. And I'm very grateful for that connection and everything that it taught me. But that connection was never about the romantic union between me and that person. It was about the romantic union between me and the person that is capable of loving me in the way that I've always desired, which is somebody who is different than the person that was my twin. So sometimes we have to open our mind to what these kinds of connections are teaching us, without the attachment of what we're looking for in the connection itself, which again can be really difficult when we label someone or put somebody on a pedestal in that way. And even if you don't use terms of like twin flame or soulmate, it could still be like we label them or attach like an association to them where it's like, oh, this is my person and they have to end up with me, because if it's not them, it will never be as good as it could be. And sometimes when we do that, we pigeonhole ourselves into a certain path that we then try to force ourselves to the outcome that we think that we need, which might actually block us from the outcome that's best for us. Anyway, this person's energy. Ooh. There's no action on their part. And here's the thing. So King of Wands, you could be dealing, there's the Queen of Swords. So you could be dealing with a fire sign, or there's air sign energy here. You don't have to be dealing with either. But I feel like, so that would be Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, Leo, Aries, Sagittarius. But what I kind of am seeing in this energy is this person, the Hierophant in reverse here is like, this person needs some level of like awakening or awareness that they have not yet tapped into. And with the Knight of Swords, they are straight up running from this connection. I feel like that's where it's like, yes, they have the desire, but their actions are, not aligning with that desire. And that, at the end of the day, Scorpio, is on them. Like, that is their path, that's their decision. And no, it might not be the best decision for them, but you have no control over that. And that is the one thing that I learned to really not like about the whole modern day idea of what a twin flame is it requires us to take accountability for somebody else's growth, to the extent that it's like, if that person doesn't grow, you're never going to be happy or loved in the way that you deserve in this lifetime. And that's not fair, because that puts your ability to experience the love that you desire into the hands of somebody else. And that is not where you experiencing the love that you deserve and desire should ever lie. It should lie in your hands and your ability to make decisions that align with what's best for you, regardless of what that means about a person in particular. Meaning, like, we don't want to self-sacrifice our needs or our worth for somebody else just because we believe that they're our twin flame or our soulmate or like our person, quote unquote. Because anything that requires us to self-sacrifice, when it comes, like, anything that requires you to sacrifice your worth or your value is not meant for you. Certainly not at this time. So, truth of this connection between Scorpio and this person. You have know your worth. And I know that we saw divine timing, right? So divine timing isn't necessarily about like what we know to be as time. It's not like the linear time that we think of when we hear time. It's about you becoming the person that you need to be to attract what it is that you deserve and desire. So since our relationships with other people are a direct reflection of how much we love ourselves, if people that we're in relationships with are struggling to love us well, that is not an opportunity for us to prove to them that we're deserving of being loved well. That is an opportunity for us to love ourselves well and to understand that that's what has to happen first. And I feel like that's what this kind of truth of this connection is really leading toward. Ooh. Know your worth here. Truth of this connection between Scorpio and this person. I feel like you're dealing with someone who's very logical and very in their head about a lot of things, and probably has a tendency to listen to their head over their heart, or to justify certain actions or behaviors. And that, I feel like, can be really challenging for anybody, especially when you can really see through that. But I feel like that's why this reading is really pushing you to let go of what you think you need and open up to what's best for you. You have this Ace of Cups here. The Ace of Cups is about, here's the thing. I feel like you have a tendency to pour into other people's cups until they're overflowing. Here. I got distracted by this imagery. This cup overflowing. But yet I feel like while you have a tendency to pour into other people's cups until their cup's overflowing, your cup ends up drained in the meantime. And I feel like your cup right now is drained. And your worth, like what you're deserving of and what your worth is associated with, is a full cup. And not just in the sense of you filling your own cup, but you also being able to receive a full cup from those that you pour into. What I was going to say is the Ace of Cups is about like new opportunities, emotional opportunities. And I think that you have to be open to them looking a little bit different than what you might think that they need to look like. And that doesn't mean that this connection is screwed or anything like that. But I do feel like there's this need to disconnect from what you think you need this person to do. Because right now, I feel like you're trying to take control over their decisions and their behavior. And all that's going to lead you toward is feeling powerless. The only thing that you have control over is what you do and how you respond and the boundaries that you set and the way that you speak up for yourself and the way that you choose yourself. Like, that's it. That's all you have control over. And if you're focusing on doing what is best for you, then that's going to lead you to the correct relationships. However, especially when we believe we're dealing with like a special relationship, we have a tendency to put those things on the back burner or to sacrifice certain aspects of those things because of how we label somebody else. A Course in Miracles labels it literally as a special relationship. So if you've never heard of a special relationship in association with the Course in Miracles, I highly recommend looking into it, because it was really eye-opening for me when I was kind of dealing with my twin flame journey, if you will. Okay, overall theme of this reading: what does Scorpio need to know in order to move forward in alignment with their higher self? I didn't expect to be talking about twin flames so much in this reading, but I feel like somebody out there really needs to hear it. Destined Soul Ties. I knew we were going to see that card. And I knew it because I saw it when in the pre-shuffle. And something about it was just like, this is somebody is dealing with a soul tie that they've labeled as special. And like, I felt it from the beginning. I actually forgot about it until I just pulled this card. But I feel like this, you know, when we're dealing with soul ties, it's really difficult because, again, it's kind of like that magnet scenario. It's like we're very drawn to them, but then there's things about the connection that doesn't make it work, so that you're never able to like fully come together. It's like this magnetic like draw, but then as soon as you hit a certain point, it's like something happens to kind of push you apart. And, you know, soul ties aren't always negative, but I feel like sometimes there can be a negative association with them, because when we are so drawn to somebody, we have a tendency to throw out what's best for us out of the window and to focus on the soul tie itself. So I feel like somebody's needing to shift perspective on this connection here, so that you don't get too far into losing yourself. Because it can be really, really easy to do. It really can. Okay, this is for Scorpio's side of the connection to the person they are dealing with. What does Scorpio need to know about their energy toward this person? The King of Wands in reverse. So you're waiting on this person to take action. You're waiting on this person to... So there's the separation. The Justice. That's how you feel you'd get what you deserve. There's this. So there you are, Queen of Cups, High Priestess. Okay. Okay. This is hard to put into words. I feel like you are a very intuitive person. And I feel like intuitively you can understand where this person is at, right? We kind of already talked about that. It's like, you know that they care about you, you know that they love you, you have that like intuitive understanding of this person. And I feel like a lot of that stems from the kind of mirrored energy in the connection. It's like you probably see some of yourself in this person, and kind of understand, you know, maybe why they do the things they do, or why they're running from this, or why they're making the decisions that they are. And I feel like because of that, you have an overwhelming amount of empathy for them and the things that they do. And because you are a loving, caring individual, I feel like you have a tendency to kind of look past a lot of what this person lacks, because you're holding out for that potential that you see. Because again, I feel like intuitively, it's like you're intuitively connected with this person's higher self. So there's the potential that you see is the higher self version of them. And maybe that's even the person that you are connected to the most, is that version of them, right? But the reality of the situation is that they are currently not that version, right? They are who they currently are, which is not the person that you know that they could be, or that is in alignment with their higher self. But what makes this really difficult is you are connected with a version of them that doesn't actually exist in the 3D. And that is, in your mind, the only way that you are going to be able to experience the love that you truly desire. So what has happened here is there's a part of you that has been spending a lot of your time waiting on this person to become that version of them, that higher self version of them that you have intuitively connected with. But there is absolutely no guarantee that this person will ever awaken or step into that version of themselves in this lifetime. That is just not something that is guaranteed. Now, what needs to be seen is that also isn't really the point of this connection. The point of this connection is not about divine union between you and this person. It's about union between you and yourself, and learning to understand that the ways in which you are lacking love from this person, and the ways in which this person makes you feel unlovable or not good enough or not chosen, are the ways in which you're needing to love yourself, accept yourself, and choose yourself. And I think that that is where the focus needs to be directed to, and away from this connection. In twin flame connections, or in special relationships, whatever you want to call them, there is absolutely a possibility for union. But that possibility has to come after a detachment from the outcome. There has to be this place that you get to where you are literally, honestly able to say, I do not care if this person comes back into my life. I do not care if it's them. And what happens is you detach and you move forward, and you either attract the person that's meant for you, or they do come back. Either way, you experience the love that you deserve and desire. However, right now, there is an intense attachment to this person and who you believe they need to be in order for you to be happy. But you don't need them to be anything in order for you to be happy. That's not the point of this at all. This isn't about them. This isn't about their journey. This isn't about their awakening. This isn't about them whatsoever. This is about you, and how this is pushing you to grow and heal and choose yourself in ways that are really, really difficult because of the draw that you have toward this person, because of the soul tie that you feel toward them. So that was kind of a difficult message to deliver, because I think that a lot of times we hold out for who somebody can be, and we hold on to what we think that we can experience when somebody else does something, when somebody else changes, heals, grows, wakes up. And when we, in the concept of a twin flame, we believe that as we grow and as we heal, it wakes up the other person. But that, again, that is a glorified way of taking accountability or depending on somebody else's journey or decisions in order to be happy. It's essentially codependency in a different kind of form. And we have to learn that other people's decisions do not affect our happiness or our ability to experience love or joy or abundance in any way, unless we let it and we attach our happiness to them or their decisions that they make, which happens a lot in these types of relationships. So I'm not blaming you or saying that, you should know better or anything like that. The reason that I'm able, I feel like that I am speaking about these things, is because I have absolutely been there. And I was receiving just signs after signs from the universe toward this particular person, which felt like confirmation. This is my person, and this is, I'm going to end up with them, and this is what has to happen. And after years of being caught up in that cycle, eventually I realized it had nothing to do with them. So I set off on a journey of healing and growth independent of what that meant for that person. And I ended up in a better space than I even thought possible. So sometimes we have to trust the journey and open up to a different outcome. But I know that that's not what a lot of people on that kind of like twin flame journey, or have that idea of a twin flame, want to hear, because it has become so much about the connection and the other person, which is why I stepped out of the community altogether, is because I just feel like it glorifies kind of this unhealthy attachment to another person. And that will never get you where you want to be, because your happiness is not dependent on anybody else. All right, this person's energy towards Scorpio. I feel like there's no way that some of you are still sticking around. I feel like I've probably made a lot of people a little bit angry here. Okay, Ace of Wands. I feel like I've confirmed it like 4 or 5 times. Yeah, this person has feelings for you. They absolutely do. However, here it is, Knight of Wands in reverse, 3 of Pentacles in reverse. They are incapable of being what you need them to be with where they're at right now. The Knight of Wands in reverse is this indication of kind of like self-sabotage or inability to be vulnerable or to open up or to, take a risk or take a leap when it comes to love and relationships. And again, I think that you have this idea of who they can be because you have intuitively connected with kind of their higher self. But everyone has a higher self. Everybody on this planet has unlimited potential. Everybody has the potential to be the best possible version of themselves, right? But a lot of people don't do the things that are needing to be done to become that version of themselves. A lot of people go through a lifetime without an awakening to that version of themselves, right? And I think that it's hard when we're dealing with people that we see that potential in, because we're like, if you would just XYZ, like, you would be happier, I would be happier, you know, the world would be happier. But sometimes we have to learn to accept people where they are, regardless of the nature of that relationship. And I feel like that's what this reading is really pushing you to do, but getting you to understand that that does not mean you can't experience the love that you deserve and desire. In fact, what might be keeping you from the love that you deserve and desire is the attachment to this connection and to the outcome of this. Because with where this person is at, they might love you and they might have feelings for you. But again, that is bare minimum. Somebody loving you, someone have feelings for you, that's bare minimum. Somebody showing up for the connection, somebody doing what they need to love you well, to communicate, to be vulnerable, to work on themselves and to grow in order to make a connection work. That's what you deserve, and that's what you ultimately need in order for you to have a healthy, sustainable relationship. And with where this person is at right now, they're not there. They are not in alignment with the higher version of themselves and that potential that you see in them. And the more that you spend your time waiting on them to get there, the more you might actually be keeping yourself from a higher love that ultimately starts with the love of yourself and is challenged and tested when we are dealing with people that mean a lot to us and that we are very drawn toward, even if they're not really so good for us based on the version of themselves that they're capable of being right now. So I feel like we've dropped some pretty hard truths in this reading. I do feel like this person is like on a completely different path from the one that they necessarily like need to be on. In order to, because again, this Hierophant in reverse, like there's a need for an awakening here. There's a need for, you know, kind of this person to accept deeper truths, but I can assure you, nobody can do that for them. That is something that they have to get to when they decide to. That's something that they have to be open to, that they have to make the decision to make. And we cannot make other people change. We cannot love them into change. We cannot guilt them into change. We cannot shame them into change. We cannot make anybody change for any reason whatsoever. And the more that we try, the more that there's a part of ourselves that's actually trying to change them, so that we can be loved well. When in reality, we have to learn to change ourselves so that we can learn that we are deserving of being loved well. And ultimately, it's not even necessarily about changing ourselves, but learning to love and accept yourself as you are, which is naturally going to change you. In between this connection, you have Know Your Worth with the Ace of Cups. Thank you, Scorpio, so much for your support of my channel. I do obviously hope that this reading helped and resonated with you in a way that you were needing today. And as always, I wish you nothing but love and healing on your journey moving forward. All right, bye, Scorpio.